Welcome back. Let's continue our conversation about our first data type, strings. So in the past lesson, we saw how strings operate, and we saw how we could call some basic string methods. Let's continue that conversation. So let's start by defining a name. So let's see, I'll do full name, and this time, let's see, I'm going to put the name, we'll use the same name, so I'll have Johnny Smith. But now what I can actually do is I can introduce some nice white space. I can use what are called escape characters. So if I call an escape character backslash and then T, what this will do if I print full name, the backslash T character tabs our string in. And so we see we get all this nice white space here. I can also use a escape character, maybe backslash N. What the backslash N character will do is it will move our string to a new line. It's called the new line character. So these two characters are going to be useful when we're trying to format our text output. Backslash T will tab our string in, while backslash N will print us a new line. So if I run this right now, we see Johnny tabbed over, and we see Smith on its own line. All right, let's move on. Now, we can join multiple strings together using a concept known as concatenation, which is essentially the plus sign operator. Now, you might say in basic math that plus sign means to mathematically add two values. And it still does if you're working with data types of integers or floats. But when we're dealing with strings, that plus sign operator means to concatenate or join two strings together. That's what concatenation means. So let's see here. Let's define a new variable, first name, and I'll set it equal to Mike. And let's define a new variable, last name, and I'll set it equal to Aramo. And so now, if I want to concatenate or join these two strings together, let's maybe say in a new variable, full name, so I'll override my previous variable. I don't mind doing that. I'll do first name plus last name. And so now if I print full name and run this, we should get, ooh, see, look at what happened here. Prints Mike Aramo all as one line. So maybe I should maybe I'll put a space in between here, plus space. And so now if we run this, we get our nice full name, Mike Aramo. Now I don't like that it's all lowercase, so I'm going to do full name dot title. I'll call the dot title method again, and it will put it in here nicely. Very good. Now, we can also do our concatenation right inside of the print function. So I could actually just print first name plus last name. Oh, that's going to give me my lack of a space again. So I'll do first name plus last name. There we go. And so now I've concatenated right in my print function, and it does the exact same thing, except here I did not call that title method. Let's yell our name. So why don't I call dot upper on these dot upper. Perfect. So if I run that, there we have it, right? We're yelling my name. It's perfect. Now, the plus sign operator, when we're dealing with strings, stands for concatenation. But if we're dealing with numbers, like integers and floats, it stands for addition. So we have to be careful of our data types when we're trying to use concatenations. For instance, if I print 4 plus 2, I think we all know that this should give us 6. And it does. Because what I'm working with here, 4 and 2, they're not strings. They're not inside quotes. But if I print the string 4 plus the string 2, 4 plus 2 in this case does not give us 6. Instead, 4 plus 2 gives us 42, the string representation, because we're actually joining the string 4 and the string 2 together. A common error that students will receive is if they try to take a string, 4, and add it to an integer, 2. And when this happens, let's investigate our error message here. We get an error message on line 15. It says a type error. You can only concatenate a string, not an integer, to a string. And so that tells us, hey, right here, we don't know how to, Python doesn't know how to interpret this plus sign. Does it mean to mathematically add? That's what the integer is saying. Or does it mean to concatenate? That's what the string is saying. That's a common mistake that a lot of students will make. So let's see how we could maybe use this together. So let's define another variable. Let's just say our variable is message, and we'll say, hello, how are you doing today? What is going on at home? Sure, there's our message. And so I can print the message, but I'm more interested, I want to know how many letter H's appear in our string here that we've defined. So there's actually a nice method for that. So I'm going to say, I call a new variable, I'm going to call it hcount, and I'm going to set it equal to, we're going to type our string variable's name, message, and now I'm going to call the dot count method. And the dot count method actually takes an argument. So we have to put some piece of information inside of these parentheses here. And we have to tell it what letter we want to count the number of occurrences for. Well, I want to count the number of occurrences of the letter H. And so now if I print hcount, let's run this. It tells me that there's 3 H's in this string. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 4. What's going on? Oh, well, what's happening here is see, we said H is lowercase h, and see how this is a capital H? So that actually makes a difference. Those represent two different things. So one of the things we should maybe do is standardize this input. So let's do message equals message dot lower. So we're going to lowercase every letter here. And so now if I run this, we get the 4 H's that we expect, and we see that the hello and what were lowercased. Lastly, let's print a nicer message describing all of these letter H's. So I'm going to say print our message has, and I'm going to concatenate to it the variable hcount, H's in it, period. So you see I have a value here our message has. I'm concatenating to a hcount, and then I'm concatenating to that the rest of the message. H is in it. So let's run this. Ooh, type error. Of course, I bet you knew that that was coming because we cannot concatenate integers to strings. And that's exactly what hcount is. So right now, we don't necessarily know how to turn hcount into a string. And that's something that we're going to learn moving forward. We can do that using another function, the str or string function. And so if I run this, it now should work nicely. Our message has 4 H's in it. Little preview of what is to come.